this is once in a lifetime. I have to overcome this. I was happy, but then I just I cried my eyes out. During that dark time in my past, when I was using drugs and going to street fights, I was very insecure, I feel. No big success happens overnight. I paid all her bank loans last year. I paid off her apartment. And that's one of the things that make me super proud and happy that I was able to kind of give her back for everything that she did for me.
Welcome everyone in the next episode of the podcast STAREDOWN. We are right now in this very famous place where Eintracht Frankfurt is filming their shows with the football players, but right now we are here. Oktagon took over and my guest is Bojan Veličković.
Hey. Hi, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
I like representing Oktagon.
Yeah, Bojan Veličković, who won the Tipsport Gamechanger, first winner of Tipsport Gamechanger, someone who came to Oktagon very humble and achieved probably the biggest European, I would say, success on the European soil, what is possible to achieve. If you go back to the night when you won the title, and maybe if you remember some moment when you was alone with yourself, what was your inner dialogue?
It was quite special moment when I went back to the locker room with my family and my friends, and there was cameras. But then I ask everyone, even my family and my friends and my coaches, to leave and just to leave me with my wife. And I was happy. But then I just I cried my eyes out. I don't know. It was last year was a year that I kind of achieved biggest success, as you mentioned. But that big success requires a lot of sacrifice, a lot of pain. A lot of training, a lot of sacrifice. And after I achieved it, I believed that I can do it. And when it happened, I just had to let go everything out, because I was piling up so much emotions and as I said, so much pain. Last year I never been so much injured, but then I pushed through and fought 4 times. And it was crazy experience, but that night was so rewarding. I think because there was so much piling up. When the success came, I don't know, the tears came like a river from inside me, and it felt liberating.
I can imagine you just get rid of a heavy bag, right?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't want to show it even when I show pain, and I know how much my wife, how much worried and stressed she is when I'm training hard, when she's helping me, and I'm trying not to show her that she's is your rib hurting? And I'm like, no, I'm okay. I'm gonna go train. She's like, are you sure? And I'm like, yeah. Maybe you should go see a doctor. No, I'm okay. And just I'm doing my own thing. And then when we stayed together, she was like, how much time did you lie to me? This year. I was like, a lot. And yeah, I just had to let go of everything. And that moment was a very special moment. And I'm there's so many things that happened. I was very happy that it happened in Prague. I was so happy that it happened around New Year's because I have some memories connected to Prague. I already fight with Tomáš Kužela in Prague. I think that was 2013 or 14. Also, I think December 28 or 29. I fought some Czech fighters before. When I started training Thai boxing, my first coach and manager, Misha Bachulov, he used to train in Prague. And first trip outside of Serbia where I like saw serious fighters was to Prague. That was in 2009. That was like when I was training Thai boxing only 1 year. And yes, so many good memories, like some very good memories with my family. And then that night in Prague, my old manager who brought me to United States, who managed when I was moving from Miami to Denver, I call him my American dad, because like him and his family helped me so much to achieve what I achieved. I was with him when I got signed with UFC, and like we have so many memories together. He didn't tell me that he's gonna come. He just showed up.
Really?
He just showed up at the weigh-ins. And there's a video and pictures that Oktagon sent me. When I saw him in a crowd, I just stopped and like I started crying because like I didn't expect him. And again, then my sister and her husband came from Shanghai, China.
Wow.
My other uncle, my dad's uncle, came from Germany, and just like people that I never expected they're gonna come to support me. They just showed up without even like telling me up front. And they didn't want to tell me anything because they didn't want to overwhelm me, because I would of course try to get them free tickets, or you know, like, because I'm happy that they're coming all the way from China. I would try to help, but they're like, no, like we don't want to overwhelm you. Like we're just gonna show up.
It wasn't like also pressure, actually, if I try to imagine myself in your situation, like, oh, they come and now I don't want to like disappoint them with losing. No?
I don't have that problem. No. Like not anymore. Maybe before, but I feel like now I feel stronger. And yeah, actually, like the crowd, are they for me? Are they against me? That doesn't affect me. Like last year, I fought Jungwirth in Oberhausen. That was probably the craziest experience in my career. Like that, every person in arena was against me. Everybody from Jungwirth. But when the cage closes, it's just me and him. So
you can like cut it off, like, and be focused. Or you feel the crowd?
No, I'm not trying to cut it off.
Okay.
Because I think that would take more energy.
Mm-hmm.
I just take what I just take what they give me.
Okay.
You know, and I know at the end of the day, they came to watch the fights to support Oktagon, and I work for Oktagon, so I think like we all benefit together.
Sure.
I think like maybe I would not see it that way 10 years ago. I would be like young and I would be like, oh, they're against me. Like I would get emotional. But now I just know that it's like at the end of the day, it's, you know, it's business and it's sport, and sport cannot survive without fans. So we need them in order to keep going. So I like that. I appreciate that. And as I said, if they hate me, thank you. If they love me like they did in Prague, thank you. So I'm always just like thankful.
Actually, I have to say, it's like amazing that we came to this point when the foreign fighters has such a big support and love from fans, right? Like you're fighting in Prague against the Greek guy, and the fans are so supportive and like cheering up. It's amazing.
Yeah, I don't know why. But I really, every time I come to Czech Republic, in Brno, when I was fighting first time in Brno, and then when I was fighting David Kozma first time in Brno, and then in Prague, every time I have so much support everywhere, like on the streets. I go to a restaurant after Gamechanger final. I stayed 3 more days in Prague for New Year's Eve, and everywhere where we went, my wife and my coaches, they didn't believe. Like everywhere on the streets, like in a center square, people like asking me to take a picture, people asking me to sign something for them. People just come and like, hey, I don't want to bother you. I see you're with your family. I just want to congratulate you and like tell you that we're very happy for you. And like how nice they are that they don't want to, you know, take my time. And they're like, I just want to like congratulate you and tell you that I'm happy for you. And I'm like, oh my God. And yeah, it's crazy, but
that's beautiful. Good that you stay actually, and you can experience this.
Yeah, like to soak up the energy and like to feel that kind of like
to take the full reward.
yeah. And then my mom came and we
had to be proud, right? Like she saw this, like people like making photos with you. She witnessed that.
Yeah, she was there. Yeah, of course. Like I think she's proud.
Yeah, beautiful.
I think she's proud,
and
but it comes back to her then because I'm so crazy when I'm like because let's talk about that later. But I think it's when you achieve such a big thing, and when I like before I didn't know, but I know now I know how much human body can overcome when you really want something. Like before, when I had a broken rib, I had to take like 2 months no training. But now I know that like you can actually have a broken rib and keep training, and not just keep training, but win the fight and then win next fight. And then in my final fight, I broke my leg or broke my foot 2 weeks before the fight. And doctor was like, oh, I don't know if you're gonna be able to fight. I was like, I'll be okay. And I just pushed through. I was in a lot of pain, but like I never take painkillers. I never take I never take ibuprofen. I think last time I took ibuprofen was maybe like 10 years ago. And then when, you know, my mom is getting older, she gets injured, and she's like, oh, I'm taking like, I don't know, like 3 pills. I was like, Mom, like you don't have to take, like that's not good for you. And she's like, what are you talking about? Like, like doctor said it's good. I was like, Mom, it's not good for you. Like, I know. And she's like, oh, I can't go do this because I'm injured. I was like, Mom, you can. And so I think like she's happy. She's happy because everything I achieved. But then I come like hard at her back because I think she's like, oh, I'm not strong like you. I was like, you are. I'm half you. You know, like you have that energy, and I'm actually really proud because well, one of the things that I'm proud of her is and that I'm very grateful for her is like how much she sacrificed her life for me to become who I am today.
Like for example,
when I was young, when my parents divorced, I was 11 years old. My mom had to work 2 jobs to support me and my brother. And at the time, she was like, she was head of one company that makes glass and windows. And then after that, she was going to work like a cleaning lady at a gym.
Oh my God.
And she was doing that for a couple of years just to be able, because she wanted us to have like nice clothes, new shoes when we go to school, and she didn't want us to look bad. But then when I finished my high school, she had to take a bank loan to pay my college. Then when I was going to my first fight to United States, because the organization that I was fighting for, they didn't have money to pay my trip, she had to take another bank loan to pay my trip, and she never told me about it. And then because she had so much loan that piled up and like became really big loan, she never asked me, like when I was in UFC, when I was like making a lot of money, she never told me like, hey son, can you help me pay off that loan? Like she was doing everything by myself. And now last year, when I was in a Tipsport Gamechanger tournament, she was like, hey, is it okay maybe if you win your next fight, if you help me? I was like, I was like, what do you need help with? She's like, well, you know, those loans that I took when you were going to America and college, like I still didn't pay that off. I was like, oh my God, Mom, why didn't you tell me that? And so one of the things that I like was very happy to be able to do is like I paid all her bank loans last year. I paid off her apartment that she bought a couple years ago. And so now she doesn't have any debt.
Yeah, there's the Serbian moms. Actually.
Yeah, she doesn't own any money, and that's one of the things that make me like super proud and happy that I was able to like kind of give her back for everything that she did for me.
And where you think this is coming from? That thing you said, like you had, because many people maybe like step off from the tournament with the injuries, broken foot, broken ribs.
Yeah.
But you still going forward. Like I know it's some people can think easy. Oh, but it's 300,000 games, so I will do it anyway. But it's not that easy. Going to training sessions and everything. I know it's super hard, and you still went forward. So you must have some resilience. Where is it coming from?
Well, I mean, one of the things is I was kind of like telling my mom is you know that like Serbian history is filled with war and blood and everything. My mom's dad in World War II, he was shot twice. One time in a leg and I think in a hip, and he had to walk with a bullet in his leg. He had to walk to hospital maybe 200 or 300 kilometers. And by the time he got to the hospital, his leg got infected and they wanted to cut his leg off. And he was so resilient that he said, I'll rather die than to be a cripple rest of my life. And somehow he pulled through. So like that story from my childhood. And then some of the books that I was reading, like I really love history. And I think last couple months, I've been following some historians on Instagram and some like philosophers, and they're all saying the same thing. Like you have to know history to know where you come from and to know how much can you endure. And like now that the fact that I know what my grandpa had to endure to survive and to save his leg. Then a couple of books that I was reading about World War I, when Serbian army was pushed by Austria and Germany to Greece for 2 years, and then they had to make a comeback. I was watching some records and some photos. Those people who had to retreat from Belgrade to Greece, they left Serbia. They had like 90 kilos. By the time 6 months that they walked over Albanian mountains to the Greece, they arrived there with like 45 kilos or like 40 kilos. They looked like zombies. They looked like walking deads. And then they had to like rebuild their strength and get the rifles and ammo and then go and fight back for their country. And they succeeded. When I know that, I'm like, who the fuck I am to complain about broken rib or a broken foot? One of these people who survived, who wrote one chapter in a book, he was wounded 46 times by either bomb piece or a bullet or a knife. 46 times. And he lived 93 years. And I'm like, what am I complaining about, broken foot or broken rib when these people who are my countrymen, my blood, when they endured so much, like I should not be complaining about this stupid thing. Money was not on my mind. Like I think people who are driven by money, when you feel hard pain, I feel like money is not strong motivation enough, unless you're in a really bad situation, maybe. But today we all live in fairly normal life, like lifestyles. that we don't have to like bleed that much for money.
And what are you driven by then?
Yeah. Like people are driven like by different motivation.
But you?
My motivation is just like history, family, understanding of like opportunities. I know that last year was once in a lifetime opportunity. You know, like I don't know if GameSport, the Tipsport Gamechanger is gonna happen again. And even if it happens again, I'm not sure I would be able to like do the same thing again. Just when I think about everything, I don't know if I would be able to do it. But I knew that I was like, this is once in a lifetime. I have to overcome this. And thank God I was able to. Like, I don't know who else to thank.
And if I like, because I'm curious still, like, what is your inner motivation, or you are driven by? Like, why you are fighting? Why, like, you as Bojan, like a normal kid from the street, now is competing in the most toughest sport? You know, you need to have something inside of you which makes you wake up every day, go for training, and then go to tournaments, suffer. What's your inner thing? Because you talk about it so nice.
I just think that how to explain that? I think it's very important that we have some competitive drive and purpose. I like to compete at everything I do. Doesn't matter what it is. Before I did MMA, I did a lot of other things. I did skateboarding, breakdancing, soccer, basketball, and I was competing in everything that I did. And then outside of my training, when I go to hang out with my friends, I stopped going to clubs and partying a long time ago. My way of having fun is competing. I go play basketball with my friends. We compete in pool or the darts. Like I just love competition. I think it's so fun when I'm with my friends. Of course, I talk shit and like we're having fun. And I don't drink lately, but before I would like to have like a beer or a glass of wine and do some kind of competition. Or even if we're playing cards, I just like competitive aspect of us as like we as a humans. When I didn't know that, I had one dark part of my past between maybe my age of 16 till 18, until I started doing Thai boxing. I actually went to football games, to like Partizan Belgrade, and Red Star. Yeah, I was Grobar. Yeah.
Me too.
And so I used to go to those games, and I was in some, smaller gangs, and I've seen some really bad things on the streets. I was competitive at that too. Like I wanted to go and fight other gang. I wanted to, when I was using drugs, I was very competitive at that too. Like I would use drugs like a few days in a row, and yeah, like I would not be. Yeah. So I realized or learned about myself that I kind of have like very competitive, and I could say maybe even addictive personality. And so am I going to get myself occupied with good things or bad things? And when I found during that dark time in my past, when I was using drugs and going to street fights, I was very insecure, I feel. I needed a bunch of hooligans around me to feel stronger. I needed drugs to feel more comfortable to talk with girls or to have friends. Like I was just like very insecure, and like I didn't have any confidence. And then when I started training Thai boxing and fighting, people all of a sudden started looking up to me. Girls started to come talk to me. Some very tough guys from my hometown, my city, they started coming to offer me jobs, to offer me sponsorships. I was like, oh, I'm doing something good. I guess I can be good at this. I started fighting, won one fight, second fight, third fight. I think when I started doing Thai boxing, I won my first 7 or 8 fights. Then I lost one. Then I won again 5 or 6 or 7 fights. I think my record for Thai boxing and kickboxing was 14-2 or 15-2.
That's good.
So pretty good. And all of a sudden, this opportunity started opening for me, and I started building confidence. And then I started doing MMA. I had opportunity to go to United States. When I went there, I won my first fight. Then all of a sudden, American Top Team, who's one of the biggest gyms in the world, they're like, "Hey man, we really like your work ethic. You work hard. You're humble. You're a very good kid. We want you to come here. We're gonna help you get the papers." And all of a sudden, like, these good things started happening in my life. Then one lady, like, "Oh, you can come live with me for free. You can just like make," because I went to culinary school, like, "Oh, you can just make food for me and my daughter."
Oh,
And
that's
so
nice.
yeah, and so then
So
I met.
you was just cooking at home for them, and that was your payment?
So first she said that I'm gonna pay $400 a month, every week $100, and I started doing that first week, and then I started buying food and I would cook, and then she had a daughter who was like 14. And she went to school, and so I was like, "Oh, do you want some food?" And she's like, "Yeah, I'm hungry." And then she would eat, and the lady came and she's like, "Hey, you're very clean. You're making food. My daughter told me that you like give her food a few times. If you keep doing that, you don't have to pay anymore." I was like, "Really?" I was like, "Great."
So they got the personal chef.
Yeah, and then I met some Serbian guy who was married to American, and they're like, "Hey, you should come live with us. We can give you a car," because when I lived with that lady, I didn't have my car. I had to either take a bus or ask somebody to drive me. And they're like, "Hey, we have 2 cars. You can use one of our cars." And so I didn't live with them. And now they're my closest friend and like family. I lived with them 2 years. So that's, I think, maybe one of the reasons that I believe in God and that I'm like so humble, because I believe that there's like some good force following me and like helping me. Like when I hear some people say like, "Oh, I went to United States, they stole all my money, somebody was chasing me with a knife," and had all these bad experiences. Like I just had like one good thing after another. I mean, I did have a couple of setbacks. I did have a couple of injuries, but after all, when I look back, I had so many good things. Then I met that guy who came to watch my fight in Prague with his family, who like was literally like my parent in United States, and I don't know why I deserve that. Like I don't know why I deserve that, and that's why I'm so. That's why I'm sometimes so grateful and so humble, because I know it can easily go to the other side.
And there was some switch, because I was just curious. Like you had the dark time, and then you started with the sport, and you go this direction.
Oh yeah.
There was something what changed your path.
Sorry, I
like it. I just want to.
If I drift off the topic, feel free to interrupt me.
Okay, no,
but I was in dark times, and then the Misha Bachulo, who was my first coach that I mentioned and manager, his younger brother went with me to school. And so he knew that I'm like, at least I believe that he believed that I'm a good guy. And he saw me doing all these things. He saw me like doing drugs and like going into a street fights. And he was like, "Hey man, like what you're doing is really bad. You're gonna either get killed, or you're gonna end up in prison, or you're gonna get like in hospital. You should like change something." And he said, my brother Misha, who is currently living in Prague, he's gonna come back to Serbia and open a Thai boxing school. You should come and join. And I was like, "Okay, I'll come to see. I come to check it out." and I trained a few weeks, and then I stopped, and then I like went back to doing my old things. And he's like, where are you at? You have to come back. And then I went back, trained a few months, and my coach told me like, hey, like, you look really good. Maybe you should try to train more seriously. And at the time, I was still smoking like cigarettes and weed, and he's like, maybe you should quit doing all that bullshit outside, and maybe you should like focus more on training. And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna try. And I started doing that, and I actually started doing really good. And they're like, oh, you want to try to fight? I was like, okay, I'll try. And then one win, other win.
And your competitive you inside, right, was happy?
Yeah, like competitive me woke up, and I replaced like alcohol, drugs, and smoking with training hard and preparing for fights and competing.
Actually, I totally agree. I have the same story. I believe many people. I also had like dark times, and the sports helped me out. Like working out at the gyms first and give me ethic, discipline, changed things in my life, so I didn't have that much time for bad stuff. Then Thai boxing and these things. Yeah, I totally agree with you.
I think it's very important. I mean, like I have all goosebumps. I think that's why last year I accepted a job in Eastern Training Center as a kids coach. Cool. Because I remember that one of the main reasons why I did everything I did is one of my first coaches, this lady, Tanya. Tanya was my judo coach when I was 10 years old or 11 years old. And one time I got in a fight with some other kid in a judo training, and she pulled out this book of like Bushido, or like, rules of behavior. And she told us how we need to be humble, how we need to be like honor, like respect, discipline, all these things. And I didn't think too much about it back then. But now when I look back, when some people tell me like, how are you so humble? How are you so, like well-behaved? How are you working so hard? I was like, I just think like I was kind of taught by right coaches and right people in my life. Maybe my grandparents, my parents, seeing how my mom was working hard to give us, to afford us a normal life.
And what you would like, you are now becoming coach, right? Or you are already coach?
Yeah.
And if you will, what you will tell to the newcomers in MMA after all these experiences, all these stories, and all these good examples you had from your coaches? What do you tell to young guys as like, if you can give them one advice? They want to be like to compete in MMA, make a big things. What would be your advice?
Well, the main thing, and that's the hardest thing to teach, or hardest thing for them to learn, is that being able to become good at something, it takes time. We live now in this time with social media, and where you like see all these like quick changes, and they're like, oh, how like after training 30 days, 1 month, they're like, oh, how I can't do this. Like, I saw you do it. I was like, I'm training 17 years professionally. I have 40 professional fights. Do you think I was able to do that first month? No. Like when I found some of my first footages of me hitting pads, I looked so bad. Like I was like this, and I was terrible. I think actually one of my coaches was recently in a podcast in Serbia, and because he was one of my first coaches, everybody asked him like, "Hey, like you were Bojan Veličković coach. Like, was he like super talent when he came to the gym?" He was like, "No, he was actually one of the worst." Like that generation, the friend who invited me to join, he was one of the best in a gym. I was not even in the first 10. Like I was not, well, I mean, I had few years that I was not doing anything good, but still I was not the fastest. I was not the most coordinated. I was not the strongest, but I think I was like very persistent, and I I believed that with hard work I can overcome anything. But it took me a long time, you know.
And that would be your advice to the persistence, like.
Yeah, I think that like no big success happens overnight. That for somebody to become really good and skillful, it takes experience. It takes a lot of losses. As a kid, when I was training judo, I lost every tournament, I think, in the first round. So I would go and I would lose the first match and I would be out. I think only one tournament I won 1 or 2 matches. But I was not good. I remember when I started training and when I won first, second fight, and when my coach told me like, hey, maybe you should consider doing like semi-pro or pro. And I was thinking in my head, because as I mentioned before, I did judo, I did soccer or football, I did basketball, and I was okay. I was like mediocre at everything. I was never the best at anything. But I was like, maybe this is my opportunity to become like best at something. And when I saw that, I was like, oh, I have some success. I was like, I never had this much success before. Maybe this is my thing. Maybe I should like pursue this. And here we are.
We are here after 17 years.
Yeah, and after
crazy.
I think I started doing Thai boxing in 2008.
Yeah.
So 17 years. Yeah, 2007 or 2008. So 17 years of training, but I was training whole my life before my dark time.
Yeah.
Some other sports. So I'm pretty much in sports all my life. And the success started happening when I was early or mid 20s. So I would say to young people like, hey, like just because things are not going well right now, keep doing it. What I tell my kids, because I train these kids from 7 years old to 12 years old, and they lose at a tournament and they get upset and they cry. I tell them like, coach, I'm not very good. I'm like, hey, I don't care if you're gonna become jiu-jitsu world champion. What I care about is that you become a good man. I care like losses are gonna come in life. And I tell them, I was like, I'm sorry to tell you this, but life is hard. And all of it, like you're gonna lose girlfriend or boyfriend, you're gonna lose your family, they're gonna get old, they're gonna die. Like it happens to everyone. It happened to me. It sucks. It's not easy to overcome. But by you losing these little matches in jiu-jitsu where you have a referee, where you have coach, you have parents, this is the safest environment for you to grow. Safest environment for you to lose and overcome that loss and learn very important lesson in life. Because I had to go like very different way to learn these lessons, you know. So I had to experience some really dark times, and I think maybe that's why I'm a little bit extreme when it comes to overcoming difficult times, because life taught me some really hard lessons. But I think that's very important.
That's the life.
Yeah.
And you have like next fights in front of you after such a big success, like. Because it is like you motivate yourself like crazy, how you described to make it, you won. And now you have more fights in front of you in Oktagon. What is like your motivation or reason why you go now to the fight? What do you want to achieve for yourself now, like in those fights? When we'll be watching you, I want to know what is in your head, why you are going to that fight.
Yeah. So it's, again, we come to my competitive nature. The only thing when I think back, like I'm not motivated to win a title or to, you know, like I think Tipsport Gamechanger for me is a lot more than a title, than just a belt. Because like I overcome 4 hard opponents in 1 year, like back to back with serious injuries. And, you know, looking back, I never won title in Oktagon, but I won 4 different titles in different organizations. and everyone was like hard in some special way, but nothing was as close as hard as this. And you'll probably be able to ask new Tipsport Gamechanger winner this year how it was for them. But for me, it was very hard, and I know it's a lot harder than any title fight I had before. So to win a title, just to win a title against, I don't know, nobody has a title right now, but I would like to have another opportunity to either fight Apollo Silva, because that was my last loss here in Frankfurt 2 years ago. And, you know, I don't want to say any excuses, but during that time I was also going through some rough personal time, and he, as much as people think like, oh, Apollo Silva is not like very tough opponent, like with my experience, I know he is.
Oh, he's super tough,
because he's first of all very tough. He's very experienced. He knows how to dictate the tempo of the fight. And I think because like he's a little bit older than me, I think he's like close to 40.
Yeah.
He doesn't fight very fast, but he's like technically very sound, very smart, very experienced, and he uses these things very smart. And when I tried in a fight to like go, when I was like frustrated with his pace and I started going hard, he catch me with one hook in a second round and dropped me to the ground. And so I was talking with my coach, and I was like, I don't know if I want to fight Apollo because like he's kind of like annoying. He represents like a lot of these stupid challenges. And my coach is like, well, maybe that's the best challenge for you. Maybe next challenge for you should be to overcome and stay like don't get emotional in a fight against him. Maybe that's like, now you're older, you're not anymore like young and crazy. Maybe you need to like slow down your pace and try to match him and try to like beat him in his own pace.
Oh, interesting.
And I was like, that makes sense. I mean, I already mentioned that I would like to fight David Kozma third time, but I know that he had a tough loss this year.
Yeah.
And I would not like to fight him I would not like to fight him if he doesn't feel like he's
in this stage.
Like in this stage.
He's like after some wins.
Yeah, maybe if he wins a few times and if he feels confident, he feels strong, yeah, let's fight then, because then it's gonna be more, more competitive fight. Like I don't think challenge or competition is interesting when you already know that you have good chances to beat somebody, so that and then I think so that leaves me with like, if Oktagon thinks that's an exciting fight to do a rematch with Apollo,
okay.
I would be interested in doing something like that at the end of this year.
Could be.
Yeah, we can talk a little bit later.
And maybe last question, like, what do you think your personal tip, who will win the next season? It will be Lozen Keita or Ronnie Paradiser?
For some reason, I'm a big fan of Ronnie. I like how he's more my type of guy. Like, he's not very loud.
I would say so also.
He doesn't go and talk shit around. Like that. This is my thing. When I was becoming MMA fighter, somebody I was looking up to was Fedor Emelianenko, and he was very, like religious. He was not talking shit, but when you go in a cage or a ring with him, you're in trouble. So for me, it's like your action are the best way to show the people how much exciting you are, not talking. And on the other side, Keita is like like I mean, I'm not like, I think I should be very careful with saying this. I'm not saying any disrespect towards Keita. I think he's doing it in a good manner. I think there's a bad shit talk and a good shit talk.
I agree.
I think he's doing good shit talk. He's obviously exciting. He's also like he's talking shit, but then he goes and poops his pants in a cage. Like he's fighting good. He's talking big, but he also fights really good. And I think his trash talk is like a good trash talk. But that's not something I resonate with.
Yeah. And so by this is also like you think that Ronnie could win because of the skills, or because now you say more who you cheer for, I would say.
Yeah, so first I wanted to like I'm biased towards Ronnie. And I also think his technique is like I think technically they're very close. I think Ronnie has a little bit size advantage. I think he's bigger and he's maybe stronger, but that doesn't mean that Keita's speed and different aspects of his game can come to shine that night. But again, it could be a very close fight, but I would like Ronnie to win. I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan, and I think it's gonna be a very exciting fight. I think it's a good matchup. I would like to see. I would like to see more than one round of fighting.
Okay, so I hope you will be there also somehow. That it will happen.
Yeah,
if not as a fighter, at least as a guest.
I would really, like that. If we don't manage to set up the fight for me, I would like to be there as a fan, and I would also. I don't know if I, as a first winner of the Tipsport Gamechanger, should give a trophy to
be honest,
to
we
other.
Don't have a plan for this yet, so maybe we can make the tradition.
yeah, I think it's a good, because I know that they told me they put my name on the trophy, and
forever.
Then like you give it to somebody, and then that somebody gives it to somebody else, and I think it will be a good tradition.
Nobody knows how many years it will go, right? And it could be many years, and then still the first name will be Bojan Veličković.
That would be really cool. I really hope. I mean, I don't know how you're like, from your perspective, how like good the Tipsport Gamechanger is, but
it's amazing.
I think it's amazing. I think it brings a lot of people together. People in like I never seen so many people around Europe, not just Europe, around the United States. There's so many people. People I used to train in American top team. That was like 2014. They're sending me like, hey man, like I saw you were part of this Oktagon thing. It's huge. Like we're hearing from everybody in the world.
Oh, yeah, cool.
So I think, I mean, and this weekend we're gonna experience the biggest MMA event in history. So yeah, you guys are doing big things. And this is my I guess for the end, I wanna like thank Andre for giving me this opportunity to be part of Oktagon and to grow together with you.
Because, exactly, I see it also. Like we grow together.
Yeah, like I think when I signed, Andre last night asked me what was my first fight, and it was like during COVID with Emmanuel Dava in Brno. And since then, I think Oktagon at that time was just Czech Republic and Slovakia, and then I was a part of first event in Germany. And then you guys had England, and now it's like Germany all the time, and Czech Republic, and like all these big events. Now the biggest event in the world. So it was very cool to be part of all that.
Yeah, appreciate it. No,
of course,
part of it. So thank you very much for the nice talk.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity.
And I wish you all the best for your next fights and lives, and love success to your kids, students.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sleduj turnaj živě na Oktagon TV.